Hello everyone, back tuning in to the CFS 6 months look ahead for September. So as the name implies, we're going to be going 6 months ahead with the long range CFS V2 model. And this is going to take us from October next month through to March 2017. So we're going to be travelling through the remainder of autumn, through the winter and just into the start of spring 2017 with this update. Quite experimental stuff, this, really pushing the boundaries of what's possible. As I always say, it really is just for fun. The first couple of months, there is some scientific merit about what we're doing, so October, November, if the model is working correctly, hopefully it will be starting to pick up some decent signals for those months. And as you go through to 3, 4, 5, 6 months away, well, obviously, you're talking about being in around just for fun. The charts are there, so I might as well look at them, but don't be taking what you see in this video too seriously. But we're going to run through in a second. Now, just say weekend forecast has already been released. It's on the homepage, so just scroll down the page a little bit, and you'll be able to find the video to the weekend forecast underneath the link ads. It'll be quite an interesting week, certainly a cooler week than we've had over the first part of September. There's also a written version of Weekend Forecast. You can get to that via buttons at the top of the page. Tomorrow we'll be doing the third Winter 16-17 update. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. Right, let's get on with CFS 6 months. Look at them. We're going to start off with the 700 millibar height anomalies for the next 6 months, and then we'll have a look at corresponding temperature and corresponding precipitation anomalies that go with these heights. So let's start off with October first of all, next month. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly for October, and it's a classic westerly month really. We've got a trough of below average heights to the north, we've got a ridge of above average heights to the south, so essentially we've got high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, and we're bringing the jet stream through the country rather like that. So it does imply quite a changeable month in October, westerly dominated, probably quite wet, particularly for the north and west. And that is a fairly deep trough that we've got to the north of us, actually. So you wouldn't rule out the risk of some gales. I think the jet stream is strengthening there through October, quite an unsettled and changeable month being signalled. We go through to November, and a little bit different, still looks quite Atlantic driven, but what's happening in November is that the below average heights are starting to move back towards the south of Greenland, and heights are rising to the south. So this looks like it could be a very mild month, actually. I think the jet stream is going up something like that, and that could be starting to take some warm air advection up into the northern latitudes, by the way, to North Scandinavia, in towards the Arctic, perhaps. But coming back to the weather for us, I think that is Atlantic driven still. It's not as wet as the signal is in October. It's also fairly mild, I would have thought. And for the south, it could be quite dry. The north would still get bouts of rain. In fact, we'd all get bouts of rain at times. But I think it's a drier and pretty mild signal there for November. Now we go through to December, and it looks really, really interesting in December if you want cold weather. So I think what happens is that warm air advection that I was talking about pumps up warmer air into the Arctic with all this ridging to the south and that low pressure around Greenland. The upshot of that as we get through into December is that we set up quite a lot of northern blocking. Look at this, got these orange colours in across Greenland and down in towards Iceland. Low pressure is running through the Atlantic, presumably with a southerly tracking jet stream, and then setting up through central parts of Europe. So the jet stream is probably down around here somewhere. And between this ridge that we've got up to the north, between the above average heights up there, trough of low pressure down here, we're probably opening the door to northerly and northeasterly winds. So I would have thought that looks like quite a cold scenario for December. Again, we come over to this side of the chart, there's the ridge there, the trough is through here, and you would have thought that between the two, we're likely to be bringing down easterly, northeasterly influences. So to me, that looks like a cold month in December. You get this level of blocking in December over Greenland and Iceland. I think we're going to get a cold month. And have a look at the temperature, precipitation obviously in a moment. And then it goes on into January as well. Look at this. In fact, the blocking does strengthen a little bit across Greenland in January, a very extensive area of blocking around Greenland. And the trough is centred over the UK, so that's probably sending milder air up into eastern and southeastern parts of Europe. But again, between the ridge and the trough, I think we're entrenching cold air into this trough of low pressure. So very, very interesting signals here from the height anomaly anyway for December and January. They both look really, really interesting, those 2 months, from a cold and wintry perspective. I think both of these months could, no more than that, but could hold out the prospect of wintry potential. Now, of course, this is a very long way out. We're at month 4 now in this. So the period where we're getting these blocking charts, December, January, are months 3 and months 4. And obviously that's when the confidence is falling quite a bit. Perhaps it starts off in November, though, where we're getting this warm air advection, remember, from the scenario in November. But nevertheless, 3-4 months away, it's too far out to have good confidence about it. May well flip over the next few updates of the CFS 6-month look ahead. Although, remember when we did the CFS 6-month look ahead last month, was generally hinting at blocking men as well, and I said expect this to flip. It hasn't, actually. It's maintained the signal, maybe even strengthened it. So very, very interesting times ahead from a cold perspective with CFS V2 model. Now get through to February and signs of a back winter flip. So what happens then is it looks like we're strengthening the jet stream. All of that blocking suddenly has gone, and we've got below average heights being generated around Newfoundland, a ridge through the central Atlantic. Presumably we're strengthening the jet stream, and that looks quite Atlantic driven actually as we go through into February. So after a cold, potentially cold couple of months in December and January, it looks like we're going to flip to something significantly milder in February. Notice we've got this ridge across central parts of Europe, which probably is left over from all other blocks. Where does the blocking go? It's completely gone from the northern latitude. I assume this area of above average heights of Central Europe is what's left of that northern blocking collapsing down into Central Europe. But for us, it looks like we're pretty Atlantic driven there. So turning milder and quite unsettled, I think, for February. And then finally go through to March. It's 6 months away, just for fun. This one is looking unsettled as well. Low pressure looks like it's running in from the Atlantic. Maybe hints of a bit of a southerly tracking jet stream again in March. Notice the above average heights has gone towards Bermuda down here. That's a long way away, and that's where the Azores high migrated to, pushed down towards Bermuda. Normally in a normal winter setup it will be around here somewhere. So when you get high pressure around Bermuda through the winter months around here, it's normally one of the signals for a colder type winter. It doesn't show any northern blocking, but I think the jet stream is on a bit of a southerly track here into March, and I would have thought this area is likely to have northern blocking. But it's 6 months away, so it's not worth worrying about. The idea, I think, play here is for quite a cold start to winter, then maybe something milder in the second half. Now, let's have a quick look at the temperature anomalies that go with the precipitation anomalies. So for October, we see that most parts of Western Europe actually coming out with near normal temperatures there. So UK, Ireland, France, generally average with the temperatures. It looks really quite mild in October across many northern and eastern parts of Europe. Remember what's happening in October is that we're strengthening the jet stream, running it through. Looks quite unsettled. Low pressure is centred up here with high pressure down here, and it looks Atlantic driven. I would have thought we'd get on to precipitation, it's likely to be wet in October. Go through to November, and that's looking mild for most parts of Europe, and some of that mild air is even getting into the UK. Remember, in November, we're building the ridge, strengthening it across many parts of Europe, and the low pressure coming stalled around here somewhere, which I think pushes warm air probably up into the pole. Notice how warm it is up around Svalbard and also over towards Greenland. I think we're getting warm advection going on in November, which probably ends up with all that blocking in December. Now, this is how the temperature anomaly looks for December, and this looks wrong to me. We have got a little bit of cooler than average temperature anomalies across Scandinavia, but otherwise, most parts of Europe, Northern Europe anyway, just coming out with average temperatures. Southern Europe coming out warmer than average. That looks wrong to me. I'm going to go back to the height anomaly for December 2016, and this is it just here. That's a height anomaly for December 2016. We've got the high pressure, remember, over Greenland down towards Iceland, low pressure across Central Europe. That's a cold scenario, and how the model gets this temperature anomaly from that pressure pattern, I'm really not sure, but I think what it's showing is the mild bias at work that you tend to get with a lot of these long-range models. They are a little bit biased towards the milder than average side, and I think much of this area in that scenario is going to be colder than average. So take a couple of degrees off those anomalies, and then you're closer to where you will be with that level of blocking over Greenland. And equally, I think January looks wrong as well. Far, far too mild. It is colder than average across Scandinavia. But look how warm it is across most parts of Europe. And again, I just don't see that from the 700 millibar height anomaly that we have in January, which is this one. That's a 700 millibar height anomaly. And okay, the trough low pressure centred over UK would be pushing up warmer air into eastern parts of Europe and southern Europe. That's fine. But where's the cold air? Because you've got all of this blocking up here, and that blocking would be pushing out cold air like that into this trough. So if you're getting cold air being pumped into the trough, where is that cold air going? So that is far too mild across most parts of Europe. This area into the east and the southeast of Europe and through southern Europe, that is likely to be milder than average as you get those southerly southeasterly winds coming in. But with the high pressure up here, you should be getting cold air coming down like that, which you will think turns much of this area significantly cold. Now, it may be a little bit more widespread than that. So much of this area, I would have thought, turns colder, and then this area is likely to be warmer than average. So again, December, January, the temperature anomalies don't make sense with what the model is showing in terms of the height/pressure anomaly. I'm not convinced on either of those 2 months. I think the model is demonstrating its warm bias. But remember, it's 3-4 months away, so it might be that those pressure anomalies don't come off anyway, as the model is predicted. But if they was to come off, as the model is showing for December and January, I'm certain we will get a significantly colder month across much of Northern Europe compared to what the model is showing. Now we go through to February, and it's milder than average in February, and that's okay. I'm not disputing that, because the idea for February is that we're strengthening the jet stream and returning more towards the westerly flow. We lose the northern blocking, essentially. It's probably a bit milder than it should be, but for that, let's have a look at the pressure anomaly. For that kind of pressure anomaly in February, well, okay, you would suspect that the temperature anomalies would be coming out milder than average in February, so I'm not disputing that one. And then we go through to March, and that's looking milder than average as well. In March, let's have a look at the pressure anomaly for March. This is it, and again, okay, it's Atlantic driven, looks like it should be quite mild. We've probably got, although the Azores high is actually being pushed back towards Bermuda, we may have heights rising down here, and with the low pressure coming through here with the jet stream, okay, it's probably going to be mild. Let's not rule out the chance there could be high pressure up over Green, but the model doesn't show that. So February and March are looking okay in terms of what the heights are showing. A milder sort of latter part of winter looks feasible, but that early and middle part of winter, December, January, I'm just not buying that it would be that mild based on the pressure anomalies. Let's just have a look at the precipitation finally, and this is how October is shaping up. Significantly wetter than average for most of northwestern Europe. That makes sense. Jet streams coming through. Looks an unsettled month, so it could be bouts of heavy rain at times. Possibly some quite strong winds as well. The precipitation eases off in November, and again that does make sense because heights are rising to the south, so you'd expect a drier, not completely dry, but you'd expect a drier month. What rainfall there is could be towards those western coastal fringes, with the jet stream pushing up warm air, something like that. Now December looks very interesting. Look at this, significantly wetter than average for many southern parts of Europe. That's indicative of the jet stream going on a southerly track, and then it's drier than average over Scandinavia because it's got high pressure, of course. Also drier than average for Scotland. Hints of being a bit drier than average for Iceland as well. So this is all indicative of having lots of high pressure to the north in this sort of area. Loads of high pressure going on up here, consequently low pressure going through here, with the jet stream also running on a southerly track. So given that, again, it backs up the idea of northern blocking. How does the model come up with such a mild month, or average temperatures to mild? How does it do that for December? I'm just not convinced. We go through to January. January looks very wet across southern Europe. Look at these blue colours appearing here around Spain, southern France, into northern Italy. It's all indicative of low pressure being around here. We know that the trough is actually centred over the top of the UK, of course. So what happens in January, I'll just talk through it again. Low pressure is centred here, or the trough is centred here. You've got ridging up here. Look how dry it is across Norway. That's indicative of blocking, and also across Iceland as well. It's indicative of all of that northern blocking that we've got through the course of January. So the trough is centred just here. There's presumably cold air being pushed into that trough via blocking. And then the reason it's so wet down here is that on the southern and eastern side of that trough, we've got the jet stream coming through. And that will be taking the normal sort of westerly winds, westerly flow through southern parts of Europe. So that explains why it's so significantly dry across southern parts of Europe. So again, these charts are indicative, I think, of a cold month for northern parts of Europe, although the model shows it to be exceptionally mild across most parts of Europe. The precipitation anomaly for February, that looks a bit drier than average. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I thought it looked like the jet stream was coming back a bit. I think February is a bit of an odd one, really, but I think the overall idea from the model that it's turning milder, and I would have thought westerly winds are returning in February, and then March, 6 months away, just for fun, but very weak signals for March, maybe hinting at being a little bit wetter than average again for western parts of Europe. I just want to go back to the height anomaly and show you again, remind you again of December. Now, I'll show you what the model was predicting at this point last year for December 2015. Remember, we had the warmest December on record, and this was the height anomaly that the model was predicting, CFS V2 was predicting for December 2015 in the middle part of September. And it got it broadly right. Look at the ridge of above average heights across many southern parts of Europe, in Central Europe. That deep trough out to the northwest, which means that the flow goes like that. We bring all of that exceptionally mild air, dragging up out of the tropical Atlantic down here via this strong ridge that we have across southern Europe, and the trough that's in the Atlantic pumps up all of that very warm tropical air that we have through December 2015. And broadly speaking, there's a little bit of difference how it turned out, but broadly speaking, that's in line with what happened in December 2015. So that makes this anomaly, what it's showing now for December 2016, very, very, very interesting. And it's a complete flip, of course, on what we had in December 2015, last year. Complete flip on what happened then with blocking to the north and low pressure to south and east. Now, just because the CFS V2 got things right for December 2015 at this point last year does not in any way mean that it's getting it right now. So there has to be, it's 3 months away, there has to be a big element of doubt about this. But let's just see where we go. The model is being fairly consistent for the CFS V2 really, with the idea that we've got Northern Block here for December, possibly extending it into January as well. So let's just wait and see. It might be that this is all going to flip and it's leading us up the garden path. And next month it will be Get Behind the Sage, long time for snow lovers and people who like cold weather. But it is really interesting what model is doing for December and January this month. So obviously we'll do the next CFS 6 month look ahead in October. I think you'll want to come back for that. And next week, I should say next Sunday, week tomorrow, we're going to get all the seasonal models together and actually see what they're showing for winter of 2016-2017 for the first time. There'll be something like 8 models in with that update, and we'll see what the consensus is for the first time this season, winter of 2016-2017. Tomorrow, we're going to do the third winter 16-17 update. That's going to include things like solar activity, what's going on with the oceans, whether we've reached the minimum in terms of Arctic sea ice loss, what's happened across Siberia with snow cover, and also have more very interesting analogues from James Acril, our good friend James. So come back for that tomorrow from 10 a.m. in the morning on the homepage with a video, and then later on it will be placed on the winter updates page so that you can see it there. And also, if you would like to read the written report that goes with it. So that's it for CFS 6 months look ahead for September. Do it all again next month. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.